Morning viewers, it's Graham Healy, your Senate candidate for Rise Up Australia. Look, I wear a couple of caps. One of them is that I'm also a self-defence instructor, and I just want to do this brief video about what can you do regarding home invasions, what we see in gangs that are going on at the moment. I mean, recently in Brisbane, we had a Sudanese gang that came up from Melbourne, attacking people with knives, stealing cars and what have you. Now, let me put a little bit of a caveat on the start of this conversation. When I say Sudanese gangs, I don't mean all Sudanese are in gangs. That's not correct. We don't want to get the racist tag and what we're talking about. When we're talking about identifying a people group or any group, it could be, it could possibly be bikie gangs. It could be, Asian gangs. It could be whatever. In a police description, if someone attacks you, you've got to give a description of the people attacking you. Now, unfortunately, at the moment, and I actually train Sudanese students, and they have, as I say, they've got no idea or any contact with these sorts of groups. But the fact is, at the moment, there's Sudanese young gangs in Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide. I've even had associates of mine who have had home invasions in Adelaide with Sudanese with machetes. I mean, this is not uncommon practice. So there is an issue. It's got to be addressed. And I see just recently on Facebook, one of the Arnhem Land Aboriginal elders gave quite a good chat to any of the young Sudanese people coming from, one of the original Indigenous Australians, saying, look out, this is our country, cool it and don't start causing violence with people. Now, okay, I'll just put that caveat on. We're not talking, people group racism and all this. These tags that people use, all we're using here is identifying who the person is. If the person's Chinese looking, he could be a white guy, he could be a black guy, he could be Chinese, he could be Sudanese, in Africa. And I've had Africans, I know a lot of people from Africa, and Africans, there's different sections of Africa, and people in Africa looks differently and all this. So for the purposes of identification, not racism, this is like even with the terrorism attacks in Melbourne, when Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, said this was an Islamic motivated or fundamental Islamic motivated terrorism attack. And of course, the Imam of Australia in the Islamic community wanted an apology from Scott Morrison about being Islamophobic or something. This is the issue. Number one, we've got to identify what crime is, whether it be from a Sudanese group, bikie group, or whatever group. You identify the crime, then you identify the people committing the crime, what they look like, what ethnic group they come from. This is just common sense. I mean, you imagine if you go into a police station, you say, look, I've just been attacked by someone, and they ask you for a description. You say, well, because I want to be politically correct, he was a person. It's ridiculous. Anyway, look, getting back into, look, I'll make this brief. In Australia, I see a lot of things on Facebook, in the media, about, and the police commissioner of Victoria. God help the police in Victoria. They're controlled by a politically correct Victorian government. So they're, honestly, the statements they come out with, they're just acting like a bunch of, I'll say it, a bunch of pussies. They've been hobbled down to the point where they can't enforce law and order. Police are there to protect the average citizen. They're not there to protect the criminal. And unfortunately, in Australia at the moment, it certainly looks like the police are there to protect the criminals, because they get all these politically correct bondages, I call them, over the law and order function. Now, as we're seeing, criminals are just having a heyday with this. They can't touch us. It's ridiculous. So, as I say, be it bikie gangs, be it mass murderers, be it robbers, stealers, be it gangs in the street, law and order should be really enforced very quickly, very efficiently, and there shouldn't be any appeasing of criminals. What's coming? What's this world? What is Australia coming to? It's like you can't say anything because someone does a crime because they're of some ethnic background, for goodness sake. It's ridiculous. Separate the two. You've got a crime, you've got a description of the criminal, and then, you put the criminal with his description in jail, basically. So, okay, in Australia, you're defenceless. You haven't got the right to bear arms. John Howard sort of, because of one young bloke in Tasmania that committed that crime and killed all those people, assumably, even the army experts say it is impossible for one person to shoot that many people so accurately. And this kid's mentally got a few kangaroos missing in the top paddock. So suddenly he's an expert marksman above and beyond what the top army guys are. Yeah, something's not right there. However, regarding firearm licensing in Australia, you cannot use a firearm to defend yourself. You cannot use pepper spray to defend yourself. You cannot use a taser to defend yourself. Now, the eye of the law, and in this broadcast, I quote Criminal Code 1899. Now, that's the legal framework of which you have a right to defend yourself. Now, despite what, like recently the Commissioner of Police in Victoria came out with this statement to people: if your home's invaded, give them your keys, give them your car, give them a cup of tea and a couple of hot cross buns. That's correct from that perspective point of view. However, the law does say, if you're attacked, that you have a right to defend yourself. So don't forget, you have a right to defend yourself. Unfortunately, in Australia, you can't use anything to defend yourself because, you can't use guns. Even if you're licensed with a gun, you can only use it in the rifle range. You can't use any sort of weapon, or, as I said, pepper spray or a taser gun. You just can't use any of that. So in Australia, you're a total victim. And do you think for 1 minute that the criminals aren't laughing all their way, to where? To the bank, I would say. So they know they invade a home. Yeah, you're a victim, right? Okay. You've got no legal right to stop them from doing anything. Don't provoke them. Just let them do what they like. This is not right. This is law and order in reverse. It's shameful. And I'm telling you, from when I put my Senate candidate cap on, Rise Up Australia, will change law enforcement, give law enforcement a lot more arresting powers, and will cut the politically correct BS right out of the equation. And, we've got to have law and order. It's biblical to have law and order. Romans 13, if any of the religious people want to look at that, or the PC people, Romans 13, law and order is actually a biblical mandate, no matter what era that you're looking at. Okay, now, my solution is this. To learn yourself some form of unarmed combat, right? It's pretty simple. If someone has a heart attack, if you don't know first aid or CPR, that person will die. It's very simple. You know, I've experienced this. When I was I worked in hospitals for a few years, and we did all the courses there and CPR and all this sort of stuff. And I remember when I was training a person in a health centre, that person had a massive heart attack, and everyone in the health centre freaked out, except me and a nurse. We did CPR on that guy. Unfortunately, he passed away, but we conducted CPR for over, I think it was about 30 minutes, right? The nurse, I was doing the breath, the nurse was doing the heart massage, right? Everyone else freaked out. Why did they freak out? Is because they weren't trained to do anything. We were. Likewise, in 1985, I was a victim, I could have been, a victim of an armed robbery up in Townsville, where I was held up by a fully blown criminal just out of jail with a loaded shotgun. Now, in that situation, I suppose I could have given him the money, made him a cup of tea, made certain that he's got everything he wants. I've had my money in my pocket, give it to him. Yeah, that's a strategy. And a few people said to me, well, you should have done that. But you know what? The guy came at me from behind, and then I won't go into the details. It's on my website. And I defended myself very successfully, and the police wound up coming to get that guy and put him back in jail where he belonged. Now, I'm trained, and I trained myself to be able to handle pretty violent situations. I've trained prison wardens, I've trained soldiers, I've trained people in military bases and all this sort of stuff, in a civilian sense. And so if you've got the ability to defend yourself legally in Australia, you can. In all these defences I've had, and there's been many of them over the years, it's all with me with no weapons. So you can learn techniques to defend yourselves against knives, against guns, against all sorts of violent attacks, and you can be right with the law provided you have a proportionate response. In other words, if you have, if someone attacks you with a knife, for instance, and you disarm them and take the knife off them, you cannot then use the knife on them. This is common sense. So in a court of law, you can defend yourself if you feel your life is threatened, even to the point where that person may be critically injured, the attacker, or may get killed. Right, now have a look at Criminal Code 1899. I've got it on my website, Commando Krav Maga Australia.com. It's now, I've merged that into Healy's Integrated Combat Solutions. So, my advice to the general public is you can wait until the Australian government legalises self-defence and turns, say, Queensland into Texas law, but I wouldn't be holding your breath too long there. Or you can illegally use a weapon in self-defence, but in my experience, if something happens, it happens like in a split second. So the attack or home invasion or whatever, it's going to happen in a split second. You're not going to have time to unlock if weapons were legal, you haven't got time to unlock the weapon cabinet because you've got to keep them locked up. You probably haven't got time to pull out your taser gun if that was legal, and more than likely you wouldn't have time to pull out your pepper spray because you wouldn't be carrying that around with you 24/7, would you? So that boils down to that you yourself have to be the weapon to defend against yourself. Now, a lot of my associates who former Army, former bomb disposal unit, and former commandos in the Australian Army and all that, they know what I'm talking about. So look, from a civilian point of view, you can't use the tactics that they do in Israel or, say, for instance, an Australian commando posted overseas. You can't use those sort of tactics. But you can legally defend yourself and your family from a legal point of view if you're unarmed. So my advice to people is learn unarmed combat. You know, myself, I've been running a self-defence school for like 50 years. I brought 2 Israeli commandos over here to Australia. I was one of the first who brought one of the Israeli commandos over here in about 2007, and learned quite a considerable lot of techniques and practice them on a daily basis. So when I talk to you about self-defence, I talk to you about genuine self-preservation, self-defence techniques. If you learn them, you will have something to use if you're attacked. It's as simple as that. I mean, I personally, I know that the bureaucracy is not going to license guns or anything like that for self-defence in Australia, unless we wind up getting in a war zone or something. And they're not going to change that legislation. They all think they're all safe by disarming the people who actually aren't committing crimes. And I might just say this, that criminals have no problems getting guns or weapons. It's the law-abiding citizen that all these laws about disarming people, it only affects the law-abiding citizen. It doesn't affect the criminal. You know, they can't stop them getting drugs. They can't stop them violence. They can't stop them getting illegal firearms or using knives. So the only solution is you yourself have to take the responsibility of learning some sort of self-defence. I suggest you go onto my website. I mean, it's not a plug for my self-defence. It is in a way, but it's just, to me, it's common sense. Learn how to defend yourself. Like, for instance, the Burke Street terrorism attack. You know, that guy, I watched the video, that guy was using a technique, he was using what you call an ice pick move with the knife to kill people, and unfortunately killed the restaurant owner who came out to help him. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, the situation was a situation, but when you analyse it, you could have stopped getting injured. There was 2 other people that got stabbed. They could have nullified that stabbing had they known a few basic techniques that we teach on the class on a regular basis. There's an old army saying, prior preparation prevents pathetically poor performance. I suggest this year, 2019, that you, Joe Bloggs, the average citizen, and your family learn some sort of self-defence. And I can teach you that in our classes. www.commandocravmaga.com. That's actually now Integrated Combat Solutions. Graham Healy, I'm just here to help. And on that website, you'll see the full outline of Criminal Code 1899, which means in Australia you have the right of proportionate self-defence. So you have a right to defend yourself, despite what all the media says, despite even what the police commissioner in Victoria. Yes, what he said was technically correct, but he didn't tell you what the law actually states, that you have a right to defend yourself. Now, admittedly, that's without a weapon, but if you know what we're teaching, you don't need a weapon. You are the weapon. Okay, over and out. Have a good day. That's my take on it. Please learn some form of self-defence, if not from me, from some other credible organisation that usually has someone. You just look at their background. Don't just join up anyone who doesn't know what they're doing. Okay, have a good day. Graham Healy, over and out.